Welcome back, Las Vegas. We are sitting here today with one of my good friends that I've begun to know over the past year. And it's crazy to think that when I first met him, all three of us were, me, EJ, and Cena, who's been on the show, we're all in completely different positions at the time. But over the year, we've all managed to scale everything that we're doing at such an unprecedented rate. It's incredible to see. I'm here with Ejay Torres. He's the founder of Big Brain Studios, which is a content creation house, video production, and content assistance, I guess we could say. This is one of the emerging industries in not just Vegas, but across America and across the world as we migrate into the creative economy, as I talk about so often. So EJ, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited we could finally do this. We're both super busy schedules, especially you. You've been scaling out Big Brain over the last year. You have a lot of influencers and content creators that you work with. And I know, and I have learned over the last year that content creation is no easy thing. It's actually very time consuming and much harder than I anticipated.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely a crazy space to get into, especially with a lot of people trying to get into the YouTube space right now. So being a company that really helps people that are trying to build content for their business, we find a lot of value and meaning and really just trying to get your guys' name out there, build a relationship with your guys' audience, and really just, showing our clients what they're about to their audience. So it's always so fun getting to know, meeting new people, meeting people like yourself, the people that we work with, really influential characters in our space with like really high net worth individuals and seeing what they're doing and really just being a part of what it means to be something up and coming. Like what we do is something I've never seen any other company do before because we make consistent content for multiple businesses. So just being a part of every step of the journey with our clients is like a huge thing because we get to build relationships with them in the process. And yeah.
You guys are essentially running a modern day media company.
Yeah.
Traditional media companies would just come in and they would film, but they wouldn't be there in the trenches, writing out the scripts, understanding who they're working for, because most media companies are generally partnering up with these businesses that have a plethora of employees. Whereas you're partnering up with these content creators who it's generally just them. And sometimes they don't have any sort of income at the time, but they do have this like brave mission and this like ethos that they want to change the world and however they want to channel their messaging. And sometimes it's really hard to formulate and construct to put on the internet.
Yeah. Especially it's hard to like articulate what comes from the heart, especially when you're trying to deliver like a really impactful, motivational message or whatever you're trying to do. So what we do is really valuable to our clients because of the fact that like we can help them like push their message as far as and much as they want. So yeah.
Were you at first a content creator or an aspiring videographer that stumbled into this emerging sector?
So I first started getting into like business like when I was in like an MLM. I was doing Primerica. I was like selling insurance. In that time, I was trying to push out content for the business, like using my like brand to like sell the product and all that stuff. But they had a problem with me because it was like against like what do you call it? Like it wasn't conformed. Like it was like almost like illegal to do it. So I was like, how come we can't be as vulnerable and as like transparent to these people as we want? So I shifted from during that time I was doing self-help, like self-improvement podcasts. That's where I actually started to get into like photography and video. And after that, I realized that I could make money doing this for others because people don't know how to work the cameras and people don't want to spend the time to set up everything, set design, shoot, edit, and all that stuff. I was like, this might be really big because if people are trying to output this much content, we can do this for brands and businesses, especially like the younger entrepreneurs out here. They really understand what it means to use social media to their advantage to really push their business out. So me and my friend Jeremy, we realized that we can make money doing this. So that's what kind of like uprooted everything. And we started working with Cena, and then that's when we met you and John. And then from John, we met one of our good clients, Mo, if he watches this. So shout out to you, Mo.
Shout out Mo. Like, guys, I want to get Mo on here. He's been also crushing it really hard out here in Las Vegas.
100%. Yeah.
Right. I can just gouge you guys for all of your clients to come onto the podcast of some sort. But it's really, there are a ton of content producers in the world, but still the majority of those who navigate social media are consumers rather than producers. And for me, I found a hard time transitioning from consumer to producer. But then once that light bulb moment hit, I was like, wow, I understand what it means to have a medium where you can channel your voice, whether it's through TikTok, Instagram, podcasting, YouTube. Like, they all have a different preference, and they all have like their own medium of exchange in terms of the value that you want to show to somebody. Which before, when you're a consumer, you just have one intent generally. You want to be entertained, or you want to learn some sort of information. So there's so many niches within content creation. It really is eye-opening because I was a big denier of it for such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about how you've begun to scale Big Brain. When I first met you, it was just you and Jeremy. I know you've mentioned that you have multiple clients now and you've been growing. How has this process been over the last year?
Oh man, it hasn't been easy. Like, one of the things that I have to always like ground myself in is that before we started everything, we didn't have any money. We weren't making any, like, nothing. We were just shooting content for free for anyone because we wanted just to be on set shooting things. But, it's been tough. Like it's hard to, like, how do you monetize creativity? I think that's one of the biggest things that I've had to struggle with, especially with it being very creative individuals that I'm working with. How do you monetize and scale creativity? So that's like been the biggest challenge that we've been facing. But the thing is, like, I always ground myself in it because they're good problems. You know, it's good that I'm thinking about this. It's good that we're making money. It's good that we're actually like finding a space and like getting to like work with like really good people. But it hasn't been easy, but I'm loving every freaking moment of it. Like, I love what I do. I love absolutely everything that comes, the good and the bad. But we've actually added Grant. He's over here on the behind the camera.
What's up?
What's up, Grant? He's been helping me with my systemizing the whole process, making it as easy and as fun and as simple and creative for the people that we shoot with, because that's what we just want it to be. We want it to be a fun, creative, simple journey for the people that we shoot with. Yeah.
And being a leader of a business or the visionary, sometimes it's tough to remove yourself from the machine because you built the machine, right? And you want to make sure that it's working efficiently. But in order to grow the machine, you have to step away and delegate some of the tasks. And I know it's very challenging as a leader. So you're kind of taking it from two different components. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's really cool to see. What issue are you finding within content creators is the most challenging aspect to content creation that you're assisting with?
I think it's having people understand what they're trying to do. I think if you're a YouTube creator or if you're a social media content creator, if you're creating content anywhere, I think it's really understanding what's the message you're trying to relay and what are you trying to get your audience to grab from it. I think it's the biggest thing, and that just takes some time to develop your message. But to get through it, I think it's just constant. That's one of the things that you do really good is you're consistent with your content. Like, before we were having conversations just like right before this, like, people know you as like the Las Vegas guy, and then that's what you kind of pushed out. But I think that's the biggest problem with content creators is like getting really simple and defined on the message that they're trying to bring to and creating value for their audience, whoever that may be. And then really just like making it like digestible and fun, creative content. But I would say that's probably the hardest thing for people to do.
So would you say that the best approach, or we'll say the general approach to content creation is to niche down, find something very specific, become a professional at that, and then grow outwards?
Yeah, I think starting somewhere first. So getting one focus on what kind of content you want to make, and then really, really just getting really good at it, and then kind of building a name through it, kind of like what you're doing, and then expanding outwards, because you need the leverage to start off first before you, because if you're doing a bunch of things, people are going to come to your YouTube channel or your Instagram page and be like, what's this guy doing? Is he doing this or is he doing that? I have no idea why I'm here. And then actually just like people have to know what you're about. And I think that's the biggest thing, because if they don't know what you're about, then being good at everything means you're technically good at nothing. So
understanding where your strengths are and then building on your weaknesses is very important, but also really niching down, because something that I found troubling in the beginning, or a hard component, was finding out what my pillars were. Where did I want to go? I was a Vegas guy. I was also really, really big into crypto, but I loved entrepreneurship. And it's kind of just like going down this like dark path where nobody else has been, and just know that if you just keep running through it, there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, because all of my pillars really haven't intersected yet, but it seems like it's becoming a little bit more defined over time. You just have to focus on building and crafting your own skills, because I was told when you first start a podcast, you're going to probably eat shit for the first 18 to 36 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. Like I think you did a really good job with it, because people understand that you're really well connected in Vegas. So when I talk about you, when I speak about you, about your podcast, it's always like, oh, it's Jake Gallen. He's really well connected, and he's a Las Vegas dude. He knows a lot of like officials, like a lot of Las Vegas locals that are like influencing here in Vegas. So I think you did a really good job with what your podcast did over the time that you created it. So
I appreciate that, man. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it always comes to the point where it's like, how do I grow? How do I expand? You know, like it's not essentially boring, but I feel like I've optimized this process to the highest degree without delegating. And then it's like, what's next? Where do you go from there?
You got top 10 podcasts in Vegas, right? Was that what it was?
Yeah. So it was like number 6. I got like Man of the Year recognition and like a few other articles. And, you know, it's all validating at the end of the day. And they're cool accolades to, you know, show somebody when you're going to somebody that has like higher status, or you're trying to market yourself to them. You're like, hey, look, here's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But has never been like the end goal to get these rewards, because you never know how people are going to interpret you. Some people see those accolades and they're like, oh my God, he's successful. And then some people see through the bullshit and they're like, hey, let me listen to the content and see if it's actually something fruitful that I could gain from. Yeah. So these are all things that you have to take into account when you're constructing your own content. I'm sure you have some sort of similar guidelines that you go through. Speaking of guidelines, are there any specific guidelines or properties that you kind of write down, or some sort of system that you have in place that when you approach a content creator, you say, hey, you need to make sure you check all of these boxes before we can go any further?
100%. I have to like ask them a bunch of like questions about like, what's the message you're trying to deliver? Who's your audience? What's your specific demographic? Why do you want to make the content in the first place? So before we shoot anything, before we like go on a shoot, we have to really understand what we're trying to like tell their audience, because it's going to be very unclear at first. So we do have like specific guidelines for them to hit, and then we try to use content to like, and then see what other people are doing in their space that are doing kind of similar things, and try to like help them make that content themselves too. So yeah, there's like a couple things that we do to help them out with that. Yeah.
It takes a freaking second. So for Big Brain itself, you're filming, you're helping write the script. Do you do anything? Do you involve any sort of marketing in that sort of package? And then also, do you take into account any of the algorithms that are spread across all of these other social media platforms that goes into the creative process?
Well, right now we don't have any like marketing, so that's something we plan to do, because we need people to see the content that's getting output by, especially the amount of content that we're outputting for every single business. But we kind of just play off of like SEO. So we use different types of YouTube content, see what's working, and then try to make like either content similar to what's trending in their specific niche, or content that's popping off or like viral to whatever they're doing. So if it's like someone's making a drop shipping YouTube thing, well, maybe we'll make a viral piece of content that has to do with drop shipping. So like one of the things that we did was we went on the Strip and asked a bunch of people, do you know what drop shipping is? And it was just like a social experiment. So stuff like that we can do, and seeing who's really leading in the search query on YouTube to see what those top producers on YouTube are doing to get views and engagement and all that stuff, and really using the same type of content to get their message or whatever they're trying to educate or inform about.
So is YouTube pretty much the bread and butter when it comes to content creation?
For us, for video, for us it is. But I do think, because I read a lot of articles myself, and that's something I want to get into. I think a lot of people should like go on and start a blog for their own business, because I think, yeah, like really, because some people read and some people watch and some people just like to scroll. So I think YouTube, video, it's multi-sensory, so you can get the hearing, the visuals, the colors, and all that stuff. But I don't think YouTube's the main platform for content creation. I think you can pop off anywhere. Like I've seen a video production company pop off based off of written blog posts on how to make videos. So that's, which is kind of funny because it's kind of like ironic.
That is ironic, yeah. Right? Let's like, you're going to create videos on how to create a blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back forward. Do any of your clients ask for specific content on maybe Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, outside of YouTube?
Yeah, we do TikTok and Instagram Reels. We kind of do some graphic design here and there, try to stay away from it. But learning because TikTok and Instagram is such a different pieces of content that you have to make, because a lot of people are getting really creative with it. But learning TikTok and Instagram, because it's different, it's not like for us, because we're so into like the visuals and like cinematic lighting and all that stuff. And then you see like TikTok and Instagram Reels, and it's just a bunch of people on their phone, and like it's like, even though it doesn't look as good, it's still like doing so well, and so much people are getting so much value for him. So seeing people like pop off in that space, in that creative outlet, is actually interesting to me, and it makes me think about how we can help our clients like pop off in that way using like film, cinematic techniques and all that stuff too. So it's actually an interesting space to be in.
What's your opinion of the creative economy? And the reason why I ask this, even though we've been discussing this whole time, is I think COVID's kind of been this accelerant towards the creative economy, where the majority of people over the next decade are going to be working remote, or they're going to have some sort of job where you can basically pick it up and walk with you. Do you think being where you are now in this like modern day media company is in the early stages of what's going to be the creative, or like the global creative economy?
I think it'll start getting faster. Like, I think people are going to want to put out more quantity over time. But I do think a lot of creatives get underpaid because they don't understand the business side of things in that sense. And I think there's so many talented people out there that are like not being seen. And I just don't think creatives are getting paid enough. And where the atmosphere is moving in the creative space, it's being in front of your audience more and more to build a relationship with them over time. So yeah, I think that's where it's headed, because imagine spending like 15 minutes every single day with your direct to consumer. So,
and some of these creative marketing tactics are changing. Recently, Visa bought a CryptoPunk, right?
Yeah.
They spent $150,000 to buy this CryptoPunk, but they probably received maybe $1 million or $2 million in attention just from buying that. And they didn't even have to create any sort of content. They just went in and bought it, and they knew this is a much better way to get in front of your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's nuts. I think the the NFT space is insane because it's interesting because I just saw art for being what art is, something meaningful and rare. But it's interesting to see like how these like little like pieces of CryptoPunks or like what Grant was talking about, like the little chibi dinos like pop off and make so much money. So I think a lot of creators can go into that and then make really rare pieces of art from just selling NFTs. But it's just, I think it's a matter of like learning how to. So
Yeah, earlier we were discussing monetizing creativity. I think that's between NFTs and the next narrative of social tokens. That's how you're going to be able to monetize creativity. Are you familiar with VFriends? Gary V's product?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just like it looks like a little kid drawing for the art, but those NFTs represent time with Gary V. So all of those are tickets to his VCon. So they'll only have 10,000 tickets or whatever the actual number is. But then some of those other ones represent like lunch with Gary V or front row tickets with him to the Knicks game and things like that. So people are beginning to expand their creativity. And I think that's where most content creators are going to pivot down over the next 5 to 10 years, because then you don't have to rely on YouTube's algorithm or worrying about them demonetizing you because you had a song in the background unintentionally, and it's just basically peer-to-peer direct to consumers.
Yeah, I think that would be nuts. Like having no gatekeeper, and then your video or your piece of art pops off because it's like really good, and no one told you that like it was bad, and like the internet says, and you make money. I think that's huge, especially for creators out there. Like put your stuff out there, man. Like really start getting into the social media space and start putting out as much things as possible. Because I know there are a lot of people that are talented, but that don't post, or they just like kind of do it to do it. But like, yo, you guys can make money, bro. Like lots of money off of what you guys are doing.
Do you think many social media users don't post or share their message in fear that they're going to receive some sort of negative comments? Do you think that's what prevents most people from going out into content creation?
Yeah, because think about like from a perspective of like editing for me, because it's editing, right? I would spend like 4 hours on 1 minute, like 1 minute of a piece of content, and it was like a 5 minute video, and then you see the views and it's like, why did I spend so much time on just like such little views, or not getting the recognition or acknowledgement that I wanted? So I do think creators are scared because of the fact that it's not going to be as meaningful to them as it is to when they put it out. So I think that's like the biggest fear with having to create something from scratch. So yeah, I think there's a fear in it, but at the end of the day, like it's what you want to do. It's what I think what makes people unique is telling and making their story out of their art, and expressing themselves through art, and not having to think about it being good to others. But I do think a lot of creators are scared because of the
mental impact of, or it's just like now so many people slide into depression or have anxiety through just one observation that they see, like low amount of numbers, low amount of viewers. Do you think there's any utility or positive feedback if you create a video that doesn't have that many views?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to express yourself. I think a lot of people they just do it for the art of it. So yeah, I think it's a good outlet, especially if because we know quite a bit of people that are just pure creatives, and they don't know how to like socially like engage, and they're not really like socially like good. So the way that they express themselves is through just creating things for themselves, by themselves. So
I had this conversation recently with forget who it was, but we were talking about how your social media profile is your modern day job resume. I think job resumes, from how they existed previously, where you just write your name on a piece of paper with a number and your job history, is just so antiquated. Whenever you apply to a job, they're looking for you on Instagram's first place they go, and then next place they go is YouTube and Google to type your name in. So even if you don't have that many views, but somebody comes across you, it could completely revolutionize your life. Or if you're applying for a job and they see something on there that's you being creative that can't be expressed through a piece of paper, it just gives you just a one up on whoever you're applying ahead of, or just whoever's scouring the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Instagram is like the modern day website pretty much. Because people first see that because it's easy to go to. I think creating less resistance for people to see your pieces of art or your creative endeavors, creating less resistance for people to see it, and then like just really making it easy for people to access. I think it's better than like actually a website. So that is your like online resume. So
there was a statistic that was put out that said that 7 out of 10 social media users prefer Instagram over any other platform. Mm-hmm. That's freaking insane.
Yeah.
But Instagram obviously can capitalize on that. Facebook's really good at engineering their algorithm so that you have to do this like pay to play kind of model. But even so, and we're discussing this before we started recording, where Instagram only shows my post to 15 to 50% at most to the viewers. But I don't know who's just scouring the internet, typing my name in or typing some sort of keyword that may be that may pertain to me, where then the views don't even matter because then they're just scrolling through. Like I generally don't I try not to look at followers. I know it's a vanity metric. I try to look at the content itself to see like, hey, is this a person that I want to give a shot on to hire, or that I want to DM and engage with? It all comes down to just having confidence in yourself to create some sort of content and remove the numbers. I know Instagram's trying to push towards that. Mm-hmm. They've been receiving a lot of lobbying from these mental health institutions, talking about how the numbers affect suicide rates and depression and stuff like that. But it's such a huge component to their business model that I don't think we'll see it removed.
Yeah. I agree, man. Like, dude, I only like scroll through stories on Instagram. Like I'm not even like swiping through the posts and all that stuff too. I think for us, like the way that we've been getting views for our clients is just based off of like their initial engagement with their audience. So a lot of their views come from straight like people that is their clients themselves. So really trying to break through the algorithm of Instagram and YouTube is a tough ordeal. And where do you even start? I think that's a really like big question for a lot of people, a lot of business owners that are trying to like make content right now. So yeah, it's definitely a tough place to start, especially if you are starting from scratch.
Your client that you mentioned earlier, Mo, has a large following on Instagram. When you work with somebody that already has a large following, is the main goal to just increase the amount of audience members or community members that he has? Is that generally the focal point?
Yeah, I think like at the end, like it's all about the message, I'd say. If we're just making a bunch of content that has nothing to do with anything about his business, it's hard for people to really take a hold and like really find meaning in it. So, yes and no. We can do viral content and we can do like evergreen and like educational content. But I do think that people need to be there for a reason, and they need to understand why they're showing up to the channel and that stuff too. So,
do you have a formula for viral content?
We just take off of YouTube, like just see what people are doing or something, or we have an idea that we think that might pop off, and we collab with a business owner and really see if anything will work. And some of it can be like social experiments or even vlogs. Vlogs do really well because you get to actually spend time and hang out with like people like in video form. So yeah, I think it becomes about views. Like with it's hard to what's the word, like just really getting a clear message as to the value that they're trying to bring is a huge part. So
that's something that I take into consideration whenever I'm creating content. Most of my stuff's podcasting.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've learned through this journey is not everyone's going to listen to an hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
But many people will watch a 1-minute clip. And so I have a large amount of community members who have told me that they enjoy the 1-minute clips that I put up because they don't have time to listen to an hour. And that's their way of showing support. But that support isn't directly channeled through the amount of YouTube views. So you kind of have to dismiss the analytics because people are consuming it in so many different ways. But it just becomes very demotivating when you see a YouTube video with 20 views or 30 views or a podcast download that has less than 100. And you're like, man, why am I doing this? But then if you think about it, the consumption of your content is probably magnitudes higher because it's being distributed through all of your social media channels.
Yeah. And I think really understanding where your audience engages with you the most too. I think even having and like listening too, you know, if people are engaging with your content in a certain way, I think a lot of ideas can come up from that. If they have questions or if you see them talking about one thing more than the other, and then really just taking a look at all your YouTube platforms, I think a lot of content can breed up from that. And then that makes it more meaningful to the viewers, especially. So
that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think the rise do you think content houses are going to pop up all over the city because of the demand for content creation, or at least having an expert in the room helping you? Because as you mentioned, there's a bunch of business owners, there's millennials, Gen Z, you even have boomers that are trying to create content now. So everyone's really competing for this finite amount of attention, but yet you are really, Big Brain's really one of the only content houses in Vegas. I don't understand why that hasn't popped up, or maybe you guys are just like so far ahead of the game that you spot this massive trend and you're just like at the very early stages of it.
I think content will play a really big role. It already is, honestly. I don't think a lot of people really get there's so much upside to it, so much leverage to it, because right now business is all about building trust. So the more that you can build trust with your audience, the more in return you get sales, clients, everything, like exposure and all that. So I think kind of understanding that it's all about relationships and trust at the end of the day. People are like 80-90% more likely to do business with people that they like. So making content around who you are as a person and what you do as a person and what you believe in as a person is probably the biggest play of all time.
Modern day CEOs of successful businesses are at the center stage of content creation. If you look at Elon Musk, he is all over the news. He's in interviews, he's shilling memes on the internet. He understands that content creation is how you increase demand for your own product, because I guarantee you a majority of Tesla buyers only bought a Tesla because they like Elon Musk, whether they like the memes that he posts or if he's shilling Dogecoin or whatever he's doing, he's up front and center, and you're seeing his most authentic self, whether you believe or whether you like him or not. Where traditional business owners from, we'll say, the pre-smartphone era or internet era, they all hid behind their business. No, you would go oftentimes buy a product. The majority of them, you have no idea who the CEO is. But now the majority of products that you buy, you identify with either the mission statement of the business or the CEO directly.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's huge. Like I think Steve Jobs, before he popped off in Apple, he was in Pixar, and he was like storytelling. He was like storytelling in Pixar, and then what he realized was that it's about taking your clients on a journey and making them feel a certain way about your product. Like, just do it. It makes you feel like a certain way. People have an emotional tie to it. And I think that's where where you can create an authentic and unique relationship with your audience if you just tell your story at the end of the day. Like, what makes you you is your story. And if you're trying to build a business, people will resonate with your life much more than you just talking about the statistics of your business or product or whatever it is. People resonate with you. People resonate with people, you know, so.
Storytelling is one of the best skills that you could possess. That's all of the best comedians are all storytelling comedians. And it's just one of the largest pastimes of human history, right? Folklore was storytelling, sitting around the campfire telling stories. There's something about the essence of sharing a well-crafted story or narrative that that people identify with so closely. I'm not sure what it is, but I think that's where the creativity comes in, where you have to try to find that the key to their soul or their brain, whichever aspect to them, and have them resonate with you.
Yeah, that's what I really try to drive in Big Brain, is really just like, how can we get to like the hearts of these people? Because they're going to stick around for a lot longer and really trust in who you are as a person. So I try to really push that with all the content that we try to create, depending on which type of content we're making. But stories are timeless. So I feel like if you can tell your story, like, you can pretty much like you can do anything with it. That's where like you said, that's where the creativity comes in. So how do you build your business telling your story? And yeah.
So do you guys over at Big Brain Studios, do you document your journey? Do you document what you guys do? Right? You're documenting the documenters. That sounds like a fun narrative.
Yeah, we're making a vlog right now, because I think it'll be interesting for people to see what it's like to actually build a video production company from ground one, and see what kind of stuff that we have to deal with, because every day it's different. So, because we're shooting constantly, it's like different content, different people, different scenery. So I think it'll be really cool to document that process. So we've been vlogging for a minute now, and we have like loads of footage to like put together in like an entertaining way. I want to make it look like a Casey Neistat like looking type of vlog. So I think that's how we are telling our story. I'm just like holding on the footage, because we make so much content for people, we can't even make content. Like, it's like absolutely nuts. So
how many clients are now working with Big Brain?
Right now, about 4, I'd say. And that's like every single week we're shooting. So, and
these vary from, I know Mo does Walmart automation and drop shipping. Mm-hmm. What other type of branches have you dove into?
We have people in credit. We have a lash boutique. Shout out to Mary. She's one of my really good friends. We have just new this barber guy named Dr. Fade. That's an interesting project. We have David Irving. He's an NFL Raider right now, our previous NFL Raider. Mm-hmm. And what else we got? Dre. Yeah, I mentioned Drayson. Yeah, he's credit. Yeah.
So it sounds like some of these clients, they have an existing business model and they're looking to build either their brand off of it or just kind of propel the business forward. Yeah. In essence, do you have any potential clients approaching you who basically have nothing? They're starting at zero and they want you to assist with that process?
No. We haven't actually had anybody that's like starting from zero, but what we found, which is interesting, is that the people that want to work with us are in this interesting space of their business or life where they understand that, content creation is the key. So that's where we found is the most for us, that's our niche, because it's business owners or brands that are looking to create like content all the time to get in front of their audience all the time. So
humans are all walking brands now because of social media.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anybody is literally an existing business that can morph and mold into whichever way the wind pushes them.
Yeah.
That's what I find so strange, because you can literally go in any direction. It's a complete spectrum. When I was thinking about the podcast, I was like, oh, I want to do, Vegas entrepreneurs, but I was like, such a small niche. Like, would it ever work? And then I debated it for 2 years before I actually did it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out the equipment. I didn't know anything about how to set up an equipment or anything about video production or editing, but I learned it all on YouTube. And that's the crazy ass part, is that you just have to do it. Like, be vulnerable with your audience. And I've found out that most supporters or most people who are watching your content want you to succeed. There's something known as I think it's called the presenter fallacy, where it's like, if you're going to give a speech in public, most of those presenters are fearful, right? They have stage fright, but everyone who's watching you probably paid money or they took time out of their day to be there. So they don't want you to fail. So it's like, they want you to succeed, but you think they want you to fail. It's once you get past that mental hurdle, then you realize that you have the whole entire world as your oyster, and you can basically build in any direction. And there's going to be multiple pivots along the way.
Yeah. Being transparent and vulnerable is huge. Like, for me, I don't really do good, like, talking to a group of people. I do really well having intimate conversations with people, because, like, I get like that, like, it's like performance versus proximity. So I'm much more authentic talking one-on-one like this than actually talking group. I get like shy and stuff. So yeah.
What's your opinion of content creators in Las Vegas? I've noticed recently, and I've had a few of them on here, a lot of popular YouTubers are beginning to move out to Las Vegas. I don't know whether it's the attractive nature of the Strip or because it's no state taxes, but it seems like a lot of popular figures in the content world are noticing something about Vegas. Is there something that you've noticed within this trend of why they might move out here?
Honestly, it might be because of Vegas is, growing. I mean, we just got the Raiders, so tech is huge out here. But I'm not too sure. I mean, maybe they like the lifestyle. It might be the lifestyle. I mean, you can party all day. You can
24/7.
Yeah, 24/7, drink all night, whatever. Like, that could probably be it. It's Hype City. So
does Vegas centric content get a lot of views or a lot of demand? I know flashiness does really well on the internet, whether you're flexing Lambos or massive NFTs or money or anything like that. And that's kind of what Vegas is. It's like the exclusive nature that's all about the like glitz and glamour.
Yeah. Maybe. Definitely the flashy nature of it is huge. But content wise, like I don't know if it's Vegas itself, because I don't really see a lot of people posting like Vegas, like I live like the Vegas life, like repping it and stuff too. Or maybe I'm just not watching like the space a lot, but nothing like too crazy where it's like a flex to be in Vegas. But yeah, I don't think it's like that,
Yeah, I try to identify trends as early as possible and see what patterns are happening within the trends, and then that's how you could generally be a leader. But that's something that I've begun to notice through talking with over 150 entrepreneurs out here in Vegas, is that most of these entrepreneurs move out here to find opportunity, but then they dive into content creation, or vice versa. They have a large audience, move out here, and then start experiencing the Vegas life, which is like a positive feedback loop within itself. But you have to find yourself in that positive feedback loop, or I guess find the way, gaming the algorithm, getting attractive women in your videos, cars, flashiness, moneyness. Is any of that kind of stuff a turnoff when a content producer or content creator is, I guess we'll say, gravitates towards the flashiness, because it seems like a little bit of a cop out?
I think it's a tactic. I think showing off money and showing off cars is a tactic. Like, I think it's about the views and to get the exposure, which is like, that's totally fine. I mean, if you get some more views, it gets you more clients, and 100%. But yeah, I think it's like a tactic, and I think it's a strategy.
But
And
do you think that strategy can be a detriment to your reputation? Or is that something that you think about when creating content of that nature?
I think for your business, it might not be that good. But I think for yourself, that's actually a hard question, because that's actually interesting. But I don't think it's like a turnoff though. I think people like that stuff. I think people are more so envious about it than anything, and they're like, oh, I want to like see what this guy's up to because he has like a lot of money and whatever he's doing, or he lives like the content creation life or whatever it is. But I think people are more envious, and even if it is negative hate, you still get the attention at the end of the day. So,
Yeah, right. That's all publicity is good publicity, kind of the kind of the Trump motto. But I wanted to get your opinion because when I first started the podcast, I wanted to shy away from any sort of egocentrism. So when I first created the cover art for my podcast, I didn't put my face in it. And then come to find out as I was doing research, it's like you have a 80% higher likelihood of somebody subscribing to your podcast if you have a face in it, because then they identify with it. And then it was the same with like, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, right? You don't talk about religion. But then if you talk about all three of those get the most attraction, right? And obviously you'll get some haters along the way, but the things that we've been taught traditionally to not talk about in public or flash are all the ones that receive the most attention in the creative economy.
Yeah, it's definitely it's people's opinions. I think people are really set on their opinions, and they really want to, put out what they want to say out there, especially when it comes to religion or money or whatever it is, because it's also a very touchy subject as well, because we all go through money problems. We all have like religion. We go through these things, and expressing one's own opinion online gives it the free platform of everyone getting to express their own opinion. Because if I'm like super negative in politics or something about like a Republican or Democrat, then like I'm speaking my own opinion on it, and if people don't like it, then that means they get to do it themselves on the video. So I mean, it makes sense, So
Do you take into account I'd say the potentiality of receiving negative attention on a video? Is that anything that you think about when you're constructing content for somebody?
Yeah. We like, I would try not to keep it biased, or we try to keep it unbiased at all, but we do think about it a lot. We're very sensitive to the people that watch, because we want them to, not take it we're just sharing a message at the end of the day. We're not telling you should think a certain way, or you should be a certain way, or you have to live a certain lifestyle. So we're very thoughtful. So,
and now you have to take into account the potential of cancellation with you say something online, and then somebody cuts a snippet out of 30 seconds of a 2-hour long podcast, and then they put their own caption on top of it, and now all of a sudden you have this just like massive uproar from the internet to cancel you. But that's something a lot of podcast guests that I've had on tell me that's their fear of coming onto a show, is the fear of cancellation. But I now, after doing this for so long, in my experience, I'm under the impression that I'm too small to be canceled.
Yeah.
Like the cancellation only happens on like a magnitude scale, but since it happens on such a large scale, everyone becomes fearful that can happen to them. Yeah. But you have to reach that reach that plateau before that kind of thing can happen. And yes, obviously there's outliers and exemptions from that, but I think that sort of fear is what prevents many people from diving into the space.
Yeah. I mean, it's people's opinion can be tough. Like how do you really take that? That's like a lot of, because think about like you're probably talking to 50 to hundreds of people, and then they're expressing their own like beliefs on you. So Yeah, but I don't think people should be afraid of cancellation, though. I think when you get to a level of scale and you're, getting hundreds of thousands of views to millions, then maybe that's when you should start thinking about it. Maybe, but when you're starting out, I like
no one's watching.
Yeah, and thinking about it, like thinking about it, it's like it doesn't make sense to like think of that you're gonna get canceled because like no one's really watching. So go ham, like learn, like fuck up as much times as you can, until something hits for you. So yeah.
I like to reference the story of Mr. Beast, who's one of the most popular YouTube content creators. I think he has like 50 million subs now or something like that. But in an interview that I watched with him, he said that he created 6 to 7 different YouTube accounts before he finally hit the big winning one. And he was showing some of his old videos where it's like him in his room hanging from like a bunk bed, like just doing stupid stuff. And he basically just shares the message that, look, it took me many attempts to create a positive feedback loop of gaining retention, which therefore gains money, which therefore just keeps increasing over time. But don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to cancel, because you never know what the internet is going to find attractive. Like some of the most viral videos is like a 30-second clip of Nyan Cat just prancing, like an animation just prancing through the internet.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like literally just keep going. Like, cause if you're a content creator, like keep pushing out things until something hits for you, cause you're going to find your voice in doing so. And you'll be much more happier going through all this like work, making content or trying to express some message, and finding a voice that you're happy with, that you can resonate with, and that people can resonate with. And people are much more likely to gravitate towards that. So,
are you seeing any trends in social media from the beginning of your journey last year to now that may take the center stage with content creation or the social media world?
I think it's getting to a place where, which is strange for me, it's getting to a place where it's less more authentic. So like stuff like recording on your phone and then like talking to your phone to your audience, instead of it being so movie like and all that
like
stuff.
Highly produced, curated.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an interesting trend. And I think it's interesting because I think people like that a lot more, instead of like someone doing like a whole comprehensive like film cinematic setup. Cause it like, I don't know, I think it gives a people a certain vibe when they watch it. It's like, oh, this is like fake because there's so much like, there's so much going into it and all that. But I think the trend now is just being more genuine with your people. Cause one video can do with your phone and like you're just on Instagram and you're talking about something and it pops off, and then and like you have like, for us is like we do like a whole full production studio setup that we spent like hours on that didn't do anything. So I think it's an interesting trend, and you see that a lot with TikTok and Reels right now. It's really like organic. They're just like people just filming whatever is going on. But I think that is changing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the legacy media has done such a disservice to the population that everyone's trying to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Whereas you see traditional news shows, they are like 2-3 minute segments. And then on the opposite side, you see people like Joe Rogan doing 3-hour episodes, basically saying like, there's no way you could share your message or your true self through a 3-minute interview. Like that's just not possible. And so now you're seeing the same thing with these traditionally hour-long or 2-hour-long documentaries that are highly produced and cut up to send a certain message. Now on the complete opposite end is just people recording from their phone, and that is receiving more attention.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I'm so like into the film. Like I love like lighting and like I love cameras and stuff. So it's crazy seeing that shift. But then again, it's like it's also a good thing because that's how content creators videographers like us can figure out, okay, how do we make this like work for us? So I do think it's insane how that goes, especially like seeing TikTok and all that stuff pop up. It's like just it's like literally just you set up your phone and you play a song and you put a thing and you're like dancing and all that stuff. And it's like, it's like millions and thousands. I'm like, what? It's like, it's insane, dude.
Like what is going on here? What is it doing? Do you think the average individual's attention span is decreasing or increasing?
I'd say, well, I think it depends. Like, like there's so much things competing for your attention. When it makes sense why your attention is like everyone's attention is so sporadic. Like mine is too. Like I'm literally on Twitter one time and Instagram, and I'll be on YouTube for like another. Yeah. So I think I think it's rapidly decreasing because of where we're at today with everything competing for your attention these days. So
yeah, that's what we see with TikTok now. I mean, they did just extend the limit, I believe, to like 3 minutes, but it started off with 15 seconds and it's rapidly increased for there. And then you see places like YouTube where the capacity limits, I think like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
But now they have YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And so then it's decreased downwards. So
Yeah.
I think everyone's all these social media platforms are trying to find where that happy medium is, and they're understanding that there's a time and place for pretty much everything between long form content, medium form, short term, and then like the most micro content that's like 3 seconds.
Yeah. You can get stuck on TikTok for like, if you just scroll one time, you'll be on TikTok for like 30, 40 minutes, just like consuming what people are just putting out, just like the most like insane thing, dancing, like how-to videos. Like it's crazy. And you're literally just digesting that as you just like sit there and you scroll. So it's insane how how we're curating content now because before it was just like, we would watch TV. Like, remember back when we watched Nickelodeon, you would wait like Wednesday for that show to come out.
Yeah.
And you watch it for like 30 minutes. But now it's like so different. Now it's like,
It's all on demand.
yeah, now you can just instantly stream anything and everything that you could possibly want. So
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting trend over this decade, to see the crossroad of content creation, creativity, crypto, monetization, attention span. Like there's so many intertwining components that haven't completely intersected, but I have this strong feeling that by the end of the decade, content creation is going to be in a completely different space, probably much more monetized and commercialized than it already is, or individually monetized through the empowerment of decentralization. So I'm interested to see where that heads.
yeah, and I think like if you're putting out ads as a business, I think the best ads and like commercial ads are the ones that don't look like ads for some reason now. It's like if people are not trying to sell you anything, they're just like you ever seen like there's this Budweiser commercial that I was watching. It's about a horse, and I was like, why is this about a horse? And then like they didn't say anything about the beer. It was just like it ends with the horse running around and it just cuts to the logo of Budweiser. I was like, nice. Like, yeah, I'll drink some Budweiser.
And we are on the fringes of that. When I had Blake Wynn on, who runs an influencer marketing company, he was talking about how all the influencers that they work with, and they try to create, they focus on creativity for ad placement or brand recognition, where the goal is to not have it look like a sales pitch at all.
Yeah.
So you want to have it as most authentic, because no one wants to go to social media to get sold. You skip over all the promoted posts. No one ever clicks on them because you don't want any sort of forced attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think where content creation is going, with it being about trust and authentic and building relationships, I think that's where it's going. That's why you see ads these days. They look like freaking movies now. And they're like trying to get you like to feel a certain way. And so I think the best ads are ones that aren't ads, that don't look like ads. And that's why some posts on Instagram or Facebook that look like a normal picture of some dude maybe holding up like a bottle or something, but it says sponsored, and it looks like he just took a selfie with like, it'll probably do a lot better than just like it being like super like generated on like, yeah. So I think people don't like that.
Get the CPI out of here, guys. We want complete authenticity. We want mistakes. That's one of the reasons why I don't cut up any of my podcasts, because I want those mistakes in there. They want that authentic listenership to feel like they are part of that situation, because no one has a conversation unadulterated in life. So it's going to be fun to watch. But before we get out of here, I have one final question for you. What does Las Vegas mean to you?
Home. Las Vegas means home to me. It's where I was born and raised. My whole family's out here. So my friends out here. It just means home. It means love. So that's what Las Vegas means to me.
Couldn't put it any better. Where do I send all the listeners and those on YouTube to learn more about Big Brain, follow you on social media, etc.?
Our Instagram handle is bigbrain.studios, BIGBRAIN.STUDIOS. And then you can find me and my whole team there. We'll be consistently putting out our content pretty soon here. So yeah, just follow us on there.
It's going to be very exciting to watch you grow over the next few years because content creation has this exponential growth pattern. So there's no doubt in my mind that you are going to be on that exponential curve here soon. So thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can do this sometime in the future and work together as well.
Thanks, man. I hope to be a leading industry in a couple of years. So I appreciate you for having me. I hope we can do this again, man.
Exactly. You guys heard it here first. Big Brain on the top of everyone's mind. So thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.